Ooh. Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Thursday night class, our Women's Advanced Bible Study night. We're going to continue on with the book of Jeremiah, uncovering it. With that being said, I was going to ask everybody to like, share, and subscribe to Prophets of Awakening channel, and hit the notification button if you can. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to given to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of Hosts. So, welcome to our Shalom, and welcome to the Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study night. We're going to do our moment of silence, our prayer, our psalms, do a little women's health, and then we'll do some current events, and then some need to know information, some current events, and then we'll go into our Q&A section. Then we'll go into the reading of the scriptures. So this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance from the land of our captives. Oh Lord, we come before Thee at this time, thanking You for Your mercy and Your great power. And we appreciate You, oh Lord, for Your patience and Your guidance in these last days. And oh Lord, we thank You for awakening us to this great understanding of Your word. And we come before You that You direct, keep, and guide us through the upcoming week. Oh Lord, for there are trials and pestilences that may on every turn. We see Your mighty hand in the world's affairs, and how You are constructing Your people's deliverance. And we trust and rely upon Thee. And for this cause, we honor and respect You greatly. Turn not Thy face from us, but allow us in our searching of You to find You, O Lord, and if we are with You, peace be unto You. Okay. I'm going to read a psalm. Okay. 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 I'm in Psalms 11. We read Psalms 11. It says, in the Lord put I my trust. In the Lord I put my trust. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? For lo, the wicked bend their bows, and they make ready their arrows upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord is in His habitat, in His holy temple. The Lord throne is in the heavens. His eyes behold, His eyelids try the children of men. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence, his soul hateth. Upon the wicked He shall rain snares, fire, brimstone, and horrible tempest. this shall be the portion of their cup. For the righteous Lord loveth righteousness, and his countenance doeth behold the upright. Okay, so that was Psalms 11. And it's in the Lord I put my trust. And that's the Psalm of David. Does anybody have any comments on that? Okay, we're gonna go to women's health. We're gonna go in on that and break it down.
Shalom, everyone. Tonight, I'm going to talk about habits of a healthy spiritual life. Okay.
Okay.
God's word teaches us habits that can keep us spiritually healthy. Wouldn't it be great to be in robust spiritual health? There are some habits notated in Psalms 116, and they are good habits for all our lives. This is some habits out of Psalms 116, and I'm just going to go through some verses. So, verse 1, believe in him. He is listening and watching, and he responds in love. Verse 2, cry out to him. Get used to talking to the Lord. Pour out your heart, your fears, your woes, share them with him. Verse 9, follow him. Through your daily life, he is the shepherd, and we are his sheep. Verse 13, drink him. He is our cup of salvation. We thirst, and he alone satisfies. Let him into your life to meet your deepest needs. Verse 14, obey him. Do what he says and submit to him. Verse 16, serve him. Tell him that, say it aloud, and offer it as an offering. Verse 17, thank him. Think through all the many blessings and benefits the Lord has heaped upon you. Verse 18 and 19, live for him. From now on, live for his glory. Talk of his blessings. Come into his presence. Worship and adore him. Not only does reading the Bible draw you closer to the Lord, but it allows you to build habits with yourself. They become healthy lifestyle practices. When you begin to set habits with yourself, the more natural the action you wish to take becomes, and it makes it easier to begin building other healthy habits as well.
Okay. Appreciate that information. Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, with that information, we're gonna move forward to our current events, and then we're going to a little need to know information, do some Q&A, and then we're going to the Bible discussion, which is we're picking up in the book of Jeremiah. Okay.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, there have been a lot of reports on food intentionally being destroyed and separate reports on food processing plants burning down. Now, some are trying to link the two, but you do have fact-checking websites that are saying that there is no connection, that there is no conspiracy to create food shortages here in America. Now, this is what they are saying. But it is very clear, however, that food is intentionally being destroyed. A lot of farmers have come forward and actually said that they were told or that they are being paid to destroy food intentionally. Now, there are reports that gives you list and list and list of the different food products that are being destroyed, chicken and beef and all kinds of things. Now, I don't consider pork to be food, but that too. Um, I'm only adding that to the list because people who are saying that they're being paid to destroy things that they distribute as food, they consider it to be food. Biblically speaking, pork is not food. Okay. So there are list and list and list of different farmers who have come forward. And it's not just meat products, but also um, you have potatoes and other vegetation that are intentionally being destroyed because there is a request to do so. Now, again, these are farmers who have said that they have been approached and offered money to destroy crops and livestock. Hmm. Now, again, the fact checking websites, they have said that there is no conspiracy on their parts to destroy, or should I say, on the parts of these food processing plants to destroy food and create shortages. Now, there's also a list of food processing plants that have been burned, that are burning, or some that have burned to the ground, destroyed completely. But again, they are saying that there is no connection, that no one is doing this intentionally. That is what is being reported. So I'm reporting on what they have reported. Of course, people are going to draw their own conclusions. But one thing for sure, there are food shortages, whether they are intentional, whether they are accidents. The accidents that are being reported as far as all of the many, 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 many dozens of food processing plants. That being said, either we can sit around and talk about the food that is being intentionally destroyed, the stuff that they say is food that's being intentionally destroyed, the food processing plants that are burning to the ground. We can sit around and talk about these things, or we can do something about it. Now, the only other thing that you can do about it, if those who are dependent upon to create, or should I say, produce food for the consumer, the only other thing you can do is produce it for yourself, right? But society has created a consumer mindset, a mindset that says that someone outside of me is going to produce and provide my food, meaning I don't have a hand in it. I'm just going to go buy it when the finished product rolls out on the assembly line, however that food gets to you, or the production line, or whatever. This is the mindset that many people have. Now, some people don't have that mindset, but they have no other choice. And let me tell you what I mean by that. They have created a consumer society where everyone has to go outside to work to earn an income to pay their bills to feed their family. It's so expensive to live now, to where you can't just say, okay, let me buy some land here. Let me just set up shop and just live quietly, right? Nope. You got to pay bills, you got to pay taxes, utilities, all of this, things that they've created so that society becomes dependent on the system, regardless of what it is. Most people can't even fathom the thought of living off grid, not being connected to anything. Most wouldn't survive if they were disconnected from the grid, because the consumer mindset has been thoroughly ingrained into most people's minds, to where they say, look, my lights, my gas, my water, my food, everything that I need, including my job, has to come from sources outside of me. They've created a mindset in people to where that is what they expect. And so it becomes a big deal when you start to see food shortages because food is intentionally being destroyed, or because food processing plants are burning down, however they are burning down, because they are saying it is not intentional, right? The result is still the same. People who are starting to notice the pinch in the pocket because food prices are going up because of shortages for whatever reason. If you all can't see what has been happening for the past few years, I don't know what else is going to wake you up. Something has definitely changed in the world. Some things are definitely happening. People have got to get their heads out of the sand and start using their brains, start thinking, stop depending. No one's perfect. No one is saying that anyone is perfect or that anyone has it all figured out. But one thing we can say is this: sitting in the seat of do nothing is no longer an option. You have got to take an active role in your own survival and the survival of your.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay.
Shalom. I think we have to really, really start changing our mindset because things are only going to get worse.
Right.
We continue hearing about, the factories being burned down or whatever, but you never hear about anyone getting hurt or anything. So are these factories being burnt down when the workers are not there? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, yeah, we can't depend on the enemy to take care of us because it's only going to get worse.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, all you have to do is look back on our previous captivities, and drama had to come for us to get released. It wasn't nothing smooth about it. Drama came, war came, and then we was delivered. Okay? So with that being said, I got another one.
Well, now they are saying that historic heat waves could be the worst in Europe in over 200 years. So we keep hearing story after story after story that's telling us the earth is heating up. But yet you had those a few years back trying to tell us or convince us that global warming does not exist. The thing is, they didn't like the term or the statement global warming. But the facts remain that the earth is heating up. This is why we continue to see the maps getting more and more red from the heat waves that are just gripping the whole country, the whole world. All over the planet, we are seeing these red spots of increasing heat. So let's get into what they're talking about in Europe. Historic heat waves, worst in Europe in over 200 years. Mm, mm, mm. See, some of you are paying attention, some of you are not. It says AccuWeather meteorologists are warning of one of the most significant heat waves in Western Europe in over 200 years, or a few decades before the Declaration of Independence was signed. That puts some perspective on it, right, y'all? They're trying to put some perspective on it. Anyway, it says the long duration extreme weather event could turn deadly across the continent. The heat is already on in Portugal and Spain, with temperatures topping out near 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius in Madrid, Spain, and Lisbon. Portugal nearly every day since Friday, July 8th, Sevilla, Spain has been one of the hottest spots with the mercury soaring above 105 degrees Fahrenheit, 41 degrees Celsius for 7 consecutive days, including a temperature of 112 degrees Fahrenheit, 44 degrees Celsius on Wednesday. This heat wave is expected to expand across Europe throughout the week and potentially through the end of the month for some areas. There is concern that this heat could become a long duration heat wave. 20 or more days for many locations from Portugal to central France and interior southeastern Europe, as it could last for the rest of July and continue into August. This includes the valleys of Hungary, eastern Croatia, eastern Bosnia, Serbia, southern Romania, and northern Bulgaria. The severity of the impending heat could rival the 2003 heat wave, when over 30,000 people lost their lives, both directly and indirectly due to the heat, according to Roy.
Okay, so like I said before, um, in the beginning, you go back to Genesis, the Most High, the Lord of Hosts said that uh, it was water over the whole face of the earth. Then he said he brought land up out of the water, and it was good. So when he says it was good, it means that what we see right now with good soil, we see trees and fruit trees and grass and all that come up out of the soil. So all the land that he brought up out of the water was good. So like I said before, something happened in the Antarctic. They brought ice, or almost a fourth of the land mass is covered with ice, and then you got the Sahara Desert. So that means that in order for that to happen, it was some kind of catastrophic climate event that he orchestrated. They got that area got it frozen over. And it's something he didn't want nobody to deal with at the time, but now this heat coming and he melting it. Like I said, and lo and behold, what's up under it? We don't have a clue. At least we don't. And at the same time, like I said, they're starting to build farms. Build gardens and all that in the Sahara. So, like I said, people ain't paying attention to that. They want to make it. They exclude heaven from all these events. When we see in the Old Testament, everything that happened, it was ordained and commandments came from heaven and brought it all about. Flood and rainbow, all that, we see it came from heaven. Now all of a sudden, the heaven ain't included. Most High throne, none of that is included in the events that goes on this planet. Okay, but they're gonna soon find out. Okay, so I don't know if anybody heard anything about this Sri Lanka. Let me.
Tear gas at protesters marching outside Sri Lanka's parliament as the country's economic crisis deepens. Recent demonstrations have forced the president to flee to the Maldives. The country's prime minister has become acting president despite calls from protesters for him to stand down.
Police versus the people on the streets of Colombo. Protesters who've come out in their thousands have no fear. Angry, defiant. Committed to removing the country's leaders. Later show of rage against the people they blame for creating Sri Lanka's economic nightmare. Sri Lankans want President Gotabaya Rajapaksa gone for good, and he has fled the country. It may be the end of the Rajapaksas in Sri Lanka, but that's not enough for this crowd. They say they want the Prime Minister out too, and they'll keep protesting until he's gone. They want to get inside the Prime Minister's office and will stop at nothing because there's nothing to lose.
We actually don't have a future in this country. How it's going to phase, if this continues like this, actually there's no future for anybody in this country.
A state of emergency declared, the military given power to get Colombo under control. The protesters briefly took over state TV, telling the nation they haven't caused any damage, urging people to support their struggle. A struggle they're winning, taking control of the Prime Minister's office, a fourth government
Yeah, we see what happened in Sri Lanka is getting ready to spread all over everywhere. So go to this next video, which is
glorious times, the age of extreme fashion, heavy metal, break dancing, and mixtape. A strange and magical era which is still widely celebrated, but not in Latin America. They consider the 80s the lost decade. Why? Because they faced financial turmoil in the 80s, a debt typhoon which eroded their economies. What was the trigger? 2 large oil price shocks. Skyrocketing oil prices disrupted their finances, created big deficits and surpluses, took their foreign debt to unprecedented highs, and pushed their economies to the point of collapse. Mexico was the first country to fall. In 1982, it declared that it will not be able to pay its debt. What followed was a series of sovereign defaults in Latin America. One country after another was engulfed in the debt crisis. Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, Ecuador, all of them fell like dominoes. They faced deep recession, high inflation, mounting debt, unemployment, and slow economic growth. 3 decades on, is history about to repeat itself? Look around you. Developing countries the world over are struggling with a sovereign debt crisis. One of them has already succumbed, Sri Lanka. Its economy has collapsed, ballooning debt and shrinking foreign reserves. There isn't enough money to pay for basic necessities. Of course, this crisis is of Sri Lanka's own making. The Rajapaksas mismanaged the finances. They spent more than the national income. They allowed deep tax cuts and destroyed the economy. But the world did not help. Look at the global factors at play: the pandemic-induced slowdown, the growing cost of borrowing, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which has increased food and fuel prices. These factors compounded the Lankan crisis, and they still persist. The fear is that the Lankan crisis could mutate. Experts say Colombo is just the canary in the coal mine. More countries are set to fall. The entire developing world is at risk. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. On the 15th of February, exactly 9 days before Russia invaded Ukraine, the World Bank issued a warning. Developing nations face a looming debt crisis. The World Bank named 70 countries, 70 low and middle income countries facing debt repayments worth $11 billion. The report said this burden could crush their economies in 2022. 9 days later, Russia invaded Ukraine. The invasion disrupted supply chains, it threw financial markets into disarray, and triggered a global oil crisis. The economic forecasts became darker and starker. In March, the United Nations released this report. It said there were 107 economies that face at least one of the three risks. Number one, rising food prices. Number two, rising energy prices. And three, tougher financial conditions. 107 countries face these risks. Together, they represent 1.7 billion people. That's more than 1/5 of humanity. There are 69 countries that face all the three risks: food, energy, finance, all three. 69 countries could go the Sri Lanka way. 25 in Africa, 25 in the Asia Pacific, and 19 in Latin America. Which countries are these? We'll start with Egypt, the land of pharaohs. It is in the throes of a financial crisis. Egypt is the world's largest importer of wheat. Russia and Ukraine were its top suppliers. As they fight now, the supplies are running out. Last month, Egypt said that its wheat reserves will not last more than 3 months. Next, we have Tunisia, the birthplace of the Arab Spring. Its economy is overheating. Foreign debt accounts for 100% of its GDP. The trade deficit has widened to $800 million. Inflation stands at 7%. Fuel prices at record highs. Experts say Tunisia could soon face civil unrest. The same warning has been issued for Lebanon, the Switzerland of West Asia. Well, not anymore. In 2020, the Beirut blasts destroyed Lebanon's largest grain stores. Food prices went up by 11 times. The Lebanese pound lost 90% of its value. Public debt grew to 360% of the GDP. The war in Ukraine complicated things further. Lebanon imported 80% of its wheat from Ukraine. Those supplies have fallen. There's a bread shortage, a scarcity of sunflower oil. Lebanon has been forced to take a $150 million loan from the World Bank to ensure food security. Then we have Argentina, the land of tango, also caught on the wrong foot now. Inflation is paralyzing its economy. External debt is mounting. Argentina has defaulted on debt repayments 9 times. To avoid a 10th default, it has gone to the IMF. It wants to refinance a $45 billion loan. It may give Argentina a brief reprieve, but it will not quell the civil unrest. Analysts say Argentina is staring at a long and cold winter this year. Some other Latin American countries are also at risk, like El Salvador and Peru. They face hyperinflation in commodities, tumbling bonds, food shortages, detonating prices, and mass unemployment. Very much like Sri Lanka. Reports say both countries could soon face civil unrest. In sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Ethiopia could be the worst hit. In Ghana, debt levels are soaring. Interest payments are choking the economy. A debt crisis looks imminent. In Kenya, the debt has climbed to $70 billion. That's 70% of its GDP. Last week, they got a $244 million loan from the IMF to weather this economic storm. In South Africa, the debt has reached 80% of its GDP. There's a looming threat of state collapse, a rerun of the 2021 civil unrest. Next comes Turkey. The currency is sliding, the debt is soaring, upwards of 54% of the GDP. Inflation has touched 70%. GDP forecast cut to 3.3%. There's a food shortage. Turkey is getting 50,000 tons of wheat from India. And these were just a few examples. The World Bank says that in the next 12 months, as many as a dozen developing economies may not be able to service their debt. This will be the largest debt crisis in a generation. What about India? It will feel the impact. A few state economies are already inching towards a debt crisis. In Punjab, West Bengal, Bihar, and Andhra Pradesh, the debt to GDP ratio is identical to Sri Lanka's. On the 3rd of April, Indian bureaucrats expressed concern. They said populist measures in these states could ruin their economies and leave them broke like Sri Lanka. Now, here's the thing. The entire world is in debt distress. National budgets are at breaking point. Some governments are being forced to cut spending. Others are borrowing more to stay afloat. What can we do to stop this? How can the world prevent a debt typhoon? We spoke to experts and we've compiled a roadmap. This is what they say needs to be done urgently and collectively. Number one, manage borrowing and lending better. Creditors should offer contingency plans to borrowers, plans to pause repayments if the borrower faces financial difficulties. Number two, introduce better ways to manage shocks and crises. Low-income countries are always vulnerable to external crises. A high proportion of their debt is in foreign currency. This makes their economies vulnerable to external changes. We need to develop a mechanism which insulates them from such shocks, a mechanism to restructure unsustainable debts better. Solution number 3, expand the common framework's eligibility criteria. What's that? It's a framework established by the G20. It's supposed to help poor countries restructure their debt. Well, so far, this framework applies to only 73 of the poorest countries in the world. It should be expanded. It should cover other highly indebted countries, also vulnerable.
Okay. Any comments on that? Yeah, so what you're looking at is, like I said, it's just not a coincidence when you go in behind the scenes with the Georgia Guidestones and what they represented. The Georgia Guidestones represented that they wanted to reduce the population down to 500 million people. Well, look what's happening. What the woman's showing you, it's a food crisis. People getting ready to starve to death, and now all of a sudden, the Georgia Guidestones come down. You know, like I said, these people they operate off of signs and symbols and you know, coded messages that they send out to each other. So you know, it's not a coincidence that Georgia Guidestones came down, because the plan they got in place is in effect. Yeah, it just, you know, we're not paying no attention to it. Okay, so any comments on that? Okay, got a little need to know if
Hello and welcome back to the channel. You know, there's an old saying that says you never miss your water until your well runs dry. In other words, water is just one of those things that we think is always going to be there, especially if you have just a faucet. You go and you turn the faucet on, the water comes out. There are countries who literally don't have that as an option, and we've talked about that before. But in this video, we are going to not just discuss the problem that the world is facing, but also some possible solutions. They may be short term solutions, but at least they are solutions, right? Okay, so severe water shortages are coming. They've actually already started. Some people are used to this in various regions of the world, while others are just kind of taken off or taken off guard, caught off guard, should I say, by this, right? There are states right here in the U.S. that are starting to run out of water. Dams are running dry. There was a whole town in Texas that was without water. Of course, it has something to do with the water main break, but they had a chance to experience what it was like to be without water for that time and have to wait for relief from outside of them, right? Okay, so before we get into the solutions, we want to just look at some of the situations that are happening. Right now, they said that dams, taps are running dry in northern Mexico. They are having a historical water shortage. Okay, they are experiencing a drought just like a lot of others. In Colorado, they said reservoirs drop and states are urged to act now. They are drying up. Colorado, with their shortages, they are also having big water cutbacks. They have been ordered, right? The rivers are experiencing shortages. The reservoirs. It says as the West endures another year of unrelenting drought, worsened by climate change, the Colorado River's reservoirs has declined to a very low state. Okay, South Africa's feeling it. California's feeling it. the whole country. Um, Italy, even, it says worst drought in 70 years threatens northern Italy's food supply. So, with droughts, you also get food shortages. So, this is really something to consider here. Um, when the world is facing this, not just one region, but when the world is facing such droughts and water shortages, you have to pay attention, right? Because it all lines up with biblical prophecy. Another headline: there's a state of emergency being declared in Marion, Kentucky, due to water shortages. It says the city of Marion government requested the emergency declaration. According to the governor's office, the city is battling a water shortage. Again, California um, cuts hydropower in half. So many areas. Phoenix, the city of Phoenix, declares a stage one water alert. So when you look at all this stuff, this lets us know that it is time to take some things a lot more serious than we have.
Okay, you coming? I mean, it's overwhelming. Okay, so yeah, so you see, this is right at home. This little towns near you is running out of water. It ain't on the other side of the Atlantic, right here at home. Um, open it up for some Q&A. Anybody got any questions or comments about anything they dealt with or they wanted to bring up and talk about? Okay. I got a little video on the play and we can dialogue on it. Then we go into our reading of the Bible of Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah. Okay.
NBA star Brittany Griner. She was actually a Houston native. And Brittany would go play basketball in Russia. She would make more money playing basketball in Russia than she would make here in the United States playing in the WNBA. The WNBA is very, very low paid compared to their counterpart, the NBA. I remember when the WNBA first got started, when they had, Sister Cheryl Swoops playing. And shout out to her. I did an interview with her maybe about a year or so ago. And, they, definitely Houston Comets was a team to beat at one point in time. And when Lisa Leslie used to play, when the WNBA first started, it was pretty good. They had some real good women players. But down the line with time, it didn't have them same kind of, players. Because, I like basketball. I don't care if it's men or women. If you good, I'll watch, But Brittany Griner would all the time go to Russia to play ball. It was no issue, no problem. Now, I've watched many videos, even, there's one Russian woman from TikTok was saying that, if you are LGBT, you probably shouldn't go to Russia because people are hardcore against that. Now, we know Putin has his thought process against that. He don't support that. He said, as long as he's president of Russia, that would never, never, never be okay. And his people support him on that. Now, the woman on TikTok has said that it's not even the government that you need to worry about. You need to worry about the people, because the people find out you that way, they about to follow you in the streets, harass you. Some people may beat you, and she say even some may even delete you because they don't play that. But Brittany Griner kept going to Russia anyway. If I had anything going on that wasn't conducive with the society, I probably wouldn't go to that society. For example, I wouldn't go to any country that is hella racist against black people. I wouldn't do it because I'm asking for trouble. Same thing with Brittany Griner. She was asking for trouble due to her lifestyle. I tell all my, black LGBT brothers and sisters, I think you just need to stay in the Western countries because that's a safe space for you. Other countries like Arab countries, African countries, minus maybe a few, certain Latin American countries, you know, it's not conducive to your lifestyle. So it is best you stay in the West where they prop that up and promote that. Okay. Most people in other countries, you know, a lot of they're more religious based, whether it's Islam or Christianity. But Brittany Griner, you know, she, you know, played ball and she went to leave Russia. During inspection, they found, you know, a vape, you know, with some cannabis oil in it. Of course, that is illegal in Russia. You face up to 10 years in prison minimum for that. So she was arrested. She ended up pleading guilty because they said it was best if she pleaded guilty because if she would have went to trial, they would have gave her more just on GP. And they say in Russia, 99% of the cases that's tried or ends in guilty verdicts. Period. You're not in America. You don't have the same rights and privileges that you have here in America. Sure, you got the embassy there, but the embassy can't tell certain countries what to do. Now, that may work in countries like, you know, African countries or countries that kind of worry about America like that, but Russia don't. At the same time, Brittany Griner did this at a horrible time when Russia, you know, and Ukraine has their conflict and NATO, you know, definitely America sending a lot of weapons, keeping that going. It has nothing to do with America, but it's keeping that going. So Brittany Griner, as I stated, she pleaded guilty and she's sitting there. Now, my focus is her fellow LGBT community. The LGBT community, and we talking about the Mzungu LGBT community, is a very powerful community. They have a lot of politicians in office. They have a lot of CEOs. They have lawyers. They're movie stars. They're radio personalities, podcasters, content creators. They're bankers. They're law enforcement. They're judges. They're DAs. I mean, in every wake of society, the LGBT community is there.
Want to have a side hustle bringing you an additional income stream?
Is there.
Any comments so far? Okay.
But one response that we did not see from the Mzungu LGBT community is speaking up loud and proud to fight for their LGBT sister, Brittany Griner. They didn't say this is an attack on LGBT. They left Brittany Griner in a Russian jail, not saying a word. Biden hasn't even been saying a word either. Now what they're trying to do is scapegoat Brittany Griner's situation on black men in the NBA. Brittany Griner probably would have maybe had more guys saying something if she had a camaraderie with the brothers in the NBA. And clearly, maybe she don't. Because if she had camaraderie with those brothers, they would have said something by now. But the LGBT, the white LGBT community, have been so silent on Brittany Griner. You can literally hear rat pissing on cotton. How silent the white LGBT community has been. I told y'all, and many of us have told y'all time and time again, white supremacy is more important than what you do in your bedroom. So just because they're LGBT like you, white supremacy is more important. And they're not going to take resources that they have been getting and finessing through set-asides for us. This is why we had to go to war against the term minorities, because this is how people like that have been getting money that belong to black people. This is our business, because we know our people. We need to be as a monolith on those things. We walking around here using that term, we're not a monolith, like there's some sort of badge of honor. What has that we're not a monolith have produced? It's the same thing when I talk about some of my brothers and sisters that come from abroad with tribalism. Why are you walking around here with tribalism and it hasn't produced anything good where you live? So if it's not producing anything good where you live or in your life, then maybe you need to switch some things up. So yes, black people do need to be a monolith on some things. Protecting our women, protecting our children. That should be something that we should all be on a monolith about.
Okay. Any comments on that? They got any comments on that? Yeah. So like you said, they didn't, any other time you see the LGBT crew, whatever it is, they be all out in the streets protesting and all that. You don't see none of that. I mean, even with the Black Lives Matter, they was all out in the streets and all that, but you don't see nothing when it comes to this right here. You would assume it would be just the opposite. Right? You don't see none of that. Okay. Thought I'd share that with the people out there in the audience. Okay. Nobody else have anything to say about that? I'm gonna go into my Bible reading, Jeremiah. We're on Jeremiah chapter 15 and 16. So I'm gonna read tonight. Okay. And chapter 15, and starting at verse 1, and it's the Lord's unyielding anger with Judah, right? So it says, then said the Lord unto me, though Moses and Samuel stood before me, yet my mind could not be toward this people. Cast them out of my sight, and let them go forth. And it shall come to pass that they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus said the Lord, such as are from death to death. We read this last night, verse chapter 15, or verse chapter 16. So it says, signs of coming captivity. This is Jeremiah 16. The word of the Lord came also unto me, saying, thou shalt not take thee a wife, neither shalt thou have sons or daughters in this place. For thus said the Lord, concerning the sons and concerning the daughters that are born in this place, and concerning their mothers that bore them, and concerning their fathers that begot them in the land. They shall die of grievous deaths, and they shall not be laminated, neither shall they be buried, but they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by sword, by famine, by carcasses shall be, and their carcasses shall be meat for the fowls of heaven, and the beasts of the earth. For thus said the Lord, enter not into the house of mourning, neither go to laminate nor bemoan them, for I have taken away my peace from this people. Excuse me, says the Lord, even loving kindness and mercies, both the great and the small shall die in this land. They shall not be buried, neither shall men laminate for them, nor cut themselves, nor make themselves bald for them. Neither shall men tear themselves for them in mourning to comfort them for the dead. Neither shall men give them the cup of desolation to drink for their fathers or for their mothers. Thou shalt not also go into the house of feasting to sit with them to eat and drink. For thus said the Lord of hosts, God of Israel, behold, I will cause to cease out of this place in your eyes and in your days the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt show this people all these words, they shall say unto thee, wherefore hath our Lord pronounced all this great evil against us? Or what is our iniquity? Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Lord our God? Being thou shalt say unto them, because your fathers, okay, your fathers have forsaken me, said the Lord, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law. And ye have done worse than your father. For behold, ye walk out everyone after the imagination of his own heart, and that they may not hearken unto me. Therefore will I cast you out of this land into the land that ye know not, neither ye nor your fathers, and there ye shall serve other gods day and night, where I will not show you favor. Therefore, behold, the days come, says the Lord, that it shall be no more said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the north, and from the land whither he hath driven them, and I will bring them again to their land that I gave unto their fathers. And behold, I will send for many fishers, says the Lord, and they shall fish them, and after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. For mine eyes are upon all their ways; they have not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin uh, double, because they have defiled my land, and they have filled mine inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are not gods? Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know, and I will cause them to know my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is the Lord. Okay, so that was Jeremiah 16. Anybody got any comments on that? Was there anything they heard or was read in Jeremiah 16?
Man, we was really punished, and that was reasons to be punished, for doing the most. So we had to pay for that first.
Right.
Yeah, we had to pay for that first.
Right.
My goodness. Wow.
Right. Yeah, so I want to shine light on 16. Like I said, I'm liking to show you how, the whole story, the story of the New Testament, JC and all that, it was brought about from different things that happened in the Old Testament. So right here in verse 16, it says, remember when JC came to Galilee, and he got the 12 disciples, and they asked him, he told them that he's going to make them fisher of men, right? But here go right here. Behold, 16 says, behold, this is the Lord of hosts talking. I will send for many fishers. See that? Said the Lord. and they shall fish them, and after will I send for many hunts, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of rock. Okay, so okay, let's shine light on that. So, anybody got any comments on anything I read? Okay, let's see. How long? 17 minutes. Okay. So I'm just gonna read chapter 16 for the night. You got something else that before we close out, Michelle wanted to read something. So you gonna give us what you got?
Yes, shalom. I ran across a little poem on a virtuous woman, but I kind of, put a little spin on that because we know that it's the Old Testament that stands for us. The women of the Old Testament, not the New Testament. So I just took it and I put a little spin on that. And again, I hope that this really, you know. Sets right with the Hebrew Israelite women. So the title of it is That Virtuous Woman. That virtuous woman is one of a kind. The Bible says she's hard to find. Her price is far above rubies, which are rare. She must be handled with extreme care. Her righteous leader knows she's a precious gem indeed. He knows that she is willing to please. Her children treat her with honor and respect. They know that she always does her best. The virtuous woman does all that she can. She's always there and stands by her man. Though she's humble and meek, she takes no mess. You can count on her to pass the test. You will know her when she passes you by, for she always holds her head up high. She's courageous and strong, a dignified lady she is. You will never know that she has shed many tears. A lady of class and elegance too. She will let you know what you will need to do to come up to her standard, which is very high. God made you blessed and highly favored. You're above and never beneath. You're the head and not the tail. You're a lender and not the borrower. Hebrew Israelite woman, that virtuous woman is you. Say it again. Hebrew Israelite woman, that virtuous woman is you. Can you stand to be empowered to know your self worth? You're worth way more than you was ever told. You're worth more than silver and gold. So, that virtuous woman never stand for nothing less than what the Lord has already promised.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that was empowering for, and it's just like a guide for, a sign for the things to come before us to come for Israelite women, because the Most High said that He was going to gather Israel, both his sons and his daughters. So
Right.
it stands to be, that goes right along with what we got to look forward to. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna peace on this lion. And we'll be on Clubhouse tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So we'll be in the Clubhouse room. With that being said, I want to say shalom, and don't forget about Shiloh and what's going on with that, because times are perilous, and we trying to set up a refuge the best that we can, for have something to aid us in whenever this thing finally do hit the pan. So shalom. I'll see everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock on Clubhouse in the room. Long.